Hello, my name is Michael Marsden. Welcome to Archive Railway video number 19, City of Leeds. My first memory of the railways of Leeds was whilst travelling from Bolton Abbey to Chesterfield on the old LMS railway. We arrived in Leeds on our local train and had to wait for our connection on a long and quite narrow platform, which I now know was at Leeds Wellington Station. It was 1940, and the platform was crowded with servicemen and women, so when our express pulled in, hauled by a large red engine, and was already very full, I didn't think we were going to get on it. "More coaches at the rear," porters shouted, and sure enough an engine had backed on with extra coaches, which were well off the end of the platform. After walking through several corridors, my mother found a seat and my sister sat on her knee. I sat on an upturned suitcase in the corridor, which was very soon as full as the rest of the train. Leeds Wellington closed, as did Leeds Central. Today's travellers using the old joint station formerly known as Leeds City, the only large one still left within the boundaries of the city of Leeds. The sights and sounds you will see and hear in this programme were recorded between 1961 and 1967. Climbing up to the closed Holbeck High Level station is Class B161334 on the 0821 Leeds Skegness train, followed by Bradford Exchange parcels headed by Low Moors 264 Fowler Tank, number 42311. On the Bradford portion of a train from King's Cross is Standard Class Tank number 80119, and bringing empty stock from Copley Hill for the 1217 departure to King's Cross is Class J50 number 68988. Backing down under Leeds Central B signal box's gantry signal is A4 Class 6006 Sir Ralph Wedgwood of Top Shed, King's Cross. Departing on the 1217 to London via Wakefield and Doncaster, she makes easy work of the climb up to Copley Hill. 68988 follows, passing in front of the black dome of Leeds Town Hall. On the right is the goods line to the high-level ex-London North Western Yard just outside Leeds Central. About to pass through Holbeck low-level station is Jubilee 45588 Cashmere of Carlisle Upperby Shed on a relief to the Thames Clyde Express. J50 Class 68892 passes over K1 Class 62010 of York Shed, waiting to return to Neville Hill. Class 5 45075 of Farnley Junction arrives on a Morecambe Leeds working. Wortley Junction signal box and signals can be seen through the bridge. Standing on low levels platforms, Jubilee 45639 Raleigh on the southbound Thames Clyde relief is dwarfed by Kirksall Power Station's chimneys. To the right, behind Wortley northeastern box, is the bulk of Greenwood and Batley's works. Having crossed over from the Harrogate lines at Wortley Junction, Copley Hill's A1 Class 60117 Boys Roussel is on a Sunderland-Manchester train which will reverse at Leeds City. As the fireman swills down his footplate on a returning train of coal empties from Kirksall Power Station, Class 4F44238 of Sturton Shed eases up to signals. Empty stock waits above to go down to Leeds Central as Britannia Class 70048, the Territorial Army of Aston Shed Birmingham, heads a fast freight to Carlisle. Lois Roussel, having reversed from Leeds City Station, is making her way past Gelded Box up to High Level and back to her home shed. Another Britannia 70039 Sir Christopher Wren of Immingham shed brings into central the 1213X Cleethorpes working. Passing the bracket signals which replace the long gantry at Leeds B box, 60130 Kestrel, another Copley Hill loco, runs alongside High Level's island platform with the 1255 King's Cross working. B1 Class 61023 Hirola, also a Copley Hill loco, leads the empty stock of the Cleethorpes train with 70039 helping at the rear. At Whitehall Junction, 8F48055 of Royston heads north as J50-68988 and A160139 Sea Eagle top and tail the empty stock of a local from Doncaster. Departing on the 1610 Cleethorpes return working is Sir Christopher Wren, with a Liverpool-bound DMU on the right. Opened in 1846 and closed in 1967, Central Station faced onto Wellington Street and was a 10-minute walk from Leeds City Station. Most of the Bradford portions from trains from King's Cross were detached at Wakefield. Central's platforms only holding 8 or 9 coaches. King's Cross A4 Class 60017 Silver Fox stands at the buffers with such a working. Copley Hill's B1 Class 61115 waits to depart with the Doncaster stopping train, and D347, an English electric Type 4, marshals the Harrogate and Bradford portions of the Yorkshire Pullman train to London. Brush Type 4 D1754 waits to depart past Leeds Central A box on the Harrogate, Leeds and King's Cross normal train. From filming the sunny scenes in the concourse, it took only 20 minutes to change to a typical West Riding day. British Railways Sulzer Type 4 D127, having brought in the train from Harrogate, reverses out of the platform. As Wortley's gas holders disappear in the rain, D258 of Ardsley Shed brings in the 1130 ex-Manchester Exchange to Newcastle, which runs via Harrogate and Ripon. On the 0950 morning parcels from Doncaster is V2 Class 60843, also an Ardsley engine. Bringing traffic to Wellington Street Goods Depot is Ginty Tank number 47589 of Farnley Junction Shed. Taking out the 0958 Leeds Skegness working is Copley Hills B1 61129. The Ginty returns and A160119 Patrick Sterling backs out of the terminus up to Copley Shed. With Wortley's St Mary's Church steeple behind, another A160139 Sea Eagle arrives with more parcels vans. On the Bradford Exchange parcel vans is Fowler Tank number 42413 of Huddersfield Shed. Departing on the 1255 King's Cross is Amadis number 60149, a Doncaster-based A1 Pacific. Running down the 1 in 88 gradient from Leeds B box to Gelded box is B1612AA to York engine, passing the Leeds and Thirsk Railway's 1849 roundhouse. Bringing a troop special from Ripon is Neville Hill Standard Class 4 tank number 80117, running over Gelded Road and passing the disused subway access to Holbeck Low Level. On the ex-Midland up slow line, 4F number 44207 of Sturton Shed runs south with more power station empties. Q6 class number 63370 of Neville Hill, having worked the Otley pickup via Arthington, heads for home. And class 5 44877 of Lancaster Green Air takes power station Cole Knoll, past full trucks and gasworks siding. B16 class number 61434, also of Neville Hill Shed, having worked a trip freight to Wellington Street goods, prepares to follow the Q6 across Leeds via City Station. Passing Hattersley's Spindle Works in Armley Road on the right, Agecroft Manchester's class 5260 number 42819 is taking failed peak class D184 from Hellifield to Derby Works. In the early days, diesel failures were common, as manufacturers and staff struggled to get things right. Easing past Gelded Armley Road coal drops on its right, Hull Dairy Coach B1 number 61065 is taking the Harrogate portion of the Yorkshire Pullman up the curve to Leeds Central Station. Passing low-level platform is Fairbairn tank number 42138 of Manningham Shed, with the Bradford Forster Square portion of a train to London St Pancras. Arriving on the Waverley Express from Edinburgh to London via Carlisle is A3 Pacific number 60086 Gainsborough of Neville Hill Shed. 8F class 48472 is heading home to Carlisle as she passes Whitehall Junction signal box. Fowler Crab number 42888 of Lancaster Green Air justifies her nickname as she sways over the junctions. The crew take it easy as 4F number 44044 of Sturton heads another power station train to Kirkstall, with Whitehall Road goods yard behind it. Coming round the curve from City Station to Whitehall Junction, A1 Pacific number 60154 Bon Accord of Neville Hill has taken over the summer CTAC tour train from Leicester to Scotland. CTAC stood for Creative Tourists Agents Conference, a group of agencies who run rail-based tours. With the tower of the old GPO building on the skyline, Holbeck Jubilee number 45602 British Honduras leaves Leeds Wellington Station with a Bristol train. The tracks curving in on the right are off Farnley Viaduct, as she takes the curve to Engine Shed Junction with a southbound freight on the Whitehall Junction curve awaiting her passage. Having run over the embankment approach from Marsh Lane, Neville Hills A1 60118 Archibald Stirrup brings in a rake of empty coaches at the east end of Leeds City Station. The domed roof of the Leeds Corn Exchange building can be seen to the left. .60118 runs on to the other end of its empty stock train. We have no idea what this movement is. Perhaps someone will let me know its purpose. The new station building is seen with a part of City House on the right. Passing Leeds East signal box, the 0711 York Leeds Parcels has Fairbairn Tank number 42699 of Neville Hill at its head. This engine was built at Derby in 1947 and was a modification of the original Fowler and Stanier 264 designs. Having coupled onto its empty stock train, 60118 departs towards Neville Hill. The goods lines which run outside the station wall can be seen joining from the right. Neville Hill was opened in 1904 by the North Eastern Railway when its shed at Leeds Holbeck near Central Station closed. Neville Hill closed to steam in June 1966 and its engines were transferred. After purchase by Viscount Garnock, the Great Marquis was resident here and ran many rail tours. Here she takes empty stock down to Leeds City at the start of one of them. A1 Class 60131 Osprey took the name originally carried on the 17th streamlined A4 to be built, when it was renamed Andrew K. McCosh. Q6 Class 63348 moves off up the yard. Running through crossgates at speed is sister A1 number 60134 Foxhunter, on a relief to the North Britain Express to Edinburgh via York and Newcastle. The Great Marquis again, in company with Stevenson valve-geared Class 5 number 44767, on a returning Lions-made Zoom special from Manchester to York on the 6th of September 1964. The lines to the right lead to Hunslet East Goods Yard. At the east end of Leeds City Station, Fairbairn Tank number 42052 of Holbeck Shed waits to take her emptying train to the carriage sidings as a sister loco departs from the west end to Bradford Forster Square. Jubilee number 45647 Sturdy of Farnley Shed heads past Leeds City West signal box with the 0915 Leeds to Paignton. Passing the surviving Midland Railway water tank, Class 545139 of Trafford Park Shed is on the 0935 Leeds to Llandudno. Running in on a Forster Square to St Pancras train is Manningham's Fairbairn Tank 42072. Pulling round the curve from Engine Shed Junction to Whitehall Junction, past Whitehall Goods Depot, is Standard Class 3260 number 77010 of Sturton Shed. She is heading a train of steel for Dunlop and Rankin's private siding at Farnley. Fairburn Tank number 42072 again, this time on the 1708 non-stop to Saltaire, Bingley and Keighley, composed of non-corridor coaches. Passing over the private siding access bridge to Monkbridge Forge is Jubilee Class 45574 India of Preston Shed, heading north with the CTAC tour train. Another Manningham Fairburn Tank number 42093 brings in the Devonian Bradford Torquay Express to City Station, where it will reverse before continuing its journey south. At Engine Shed Junction, south of City Station, and running past the site of the old Water Lane signal box, 9F number 92082 of Saltley, Birmingham, is in charge of the Neville Hill Ellesmere Port empty oil tanks. Looking out of the doorway of Holbeck number 2 Roundhouse, with Holbeck Library on Nineveh Road in the distance. Engines on view are 45261 of Agecroft, 44775 of Saltley, 45050 of Rugby, 42145 of Ardsley, 48104, 45605 Cyprus, 45589 Gwalior, 45562 Alberta, and 45697 Achilles, all of Holbeck. Standing in number 2 sidings with Farnley Viaduct behind are Holbeck's snowplows. Two more Holbeck Jubilees are 45626 Seychelles and 45661 Vernon. Holbeck number 1 side with the diesel fuelling site in the foreground, and to the right the loco coaling plant. After filling her tender, Class 5 number 45227 of Patricroft Manchester Shed moves on to number 2 Ashpit for fire dropping. Holbeck had two separate sides, number 1 and number 2, with their own sidings and sheds. Also arriving on number 2 side is Class 5 number 44662. Moving on to the shed exit line is ex-Crosty Boiler 9F number 92020 of Wellingborough Shed, an English Electric Type 4 D243 with one of the short-lived brake tenders for extra braking power on loose couple freight trains. Arriving on shed and passing Engine Shed Junction signal box is Agecroft Manchester's Class 5 44782. Two-type diesels arrive on number 1 side, passing the yard foreman's cabin. Coming under Farnley Viaduct and over Sweet Street Bridge is Class 5 number 45426 at Crewe South Shed, accelerating towards Normanton in fine style on the empty tanks to Ellesmere Port. Holbeck Class 5 number 45428, now preserved and named Eric Tracy, is on the old number 2 Ashpit. This was superseded in the 1930s by the new one with elevating hoppers. The shed mess room with the main number 2 roundhouse behind it is seen, with Holbeck's breakdown crane to the right. Although classed as 9F, The ex-Crosty boiler engines were not as powerful as their sisters due to the smaller boiler they carried. Their chimney on the higher-pitched boiler was minuscule. In their last years, the Holbeck Jubilees attained cult status, being kept in very good condition. Here, Collar Per number 45593 is waiting to change engines on the St Pancras Heads of Air Butlins train, which bypass Leeds City Station. Enthusiastic photographers were also known to clean the engines and paint on their names after nameplates were removed for safekeeping. Unfortunately, Collar Per was misspelt, the letter H being in the wrong place. She ran like this for several weeks before it was corrected. Approaching Whitehall Junction, she is checked by signals before being given the right of way through Holbeck Low Level and on to Skipton and Carlisle. Redmond's of Ellen Road sawmills made boxes, crates and packing cases. Here they are creating a boiler for export. One of Sellers of Leeds hire cranes arrives to lift the finished crate onto a British Railways Bedford low loader. The crane looks like an ex-Royal Air Force Thornycroft, of which there were many to be seen in the 1950s. Having reversed out and moved away, she is followed by a British Railways Scannell mechanical horse and trailer. At the ex-North Eastern Railway Hunslet East goods yard, 3 of the 4 boilers are sitting on low mat trucks, sheeted up, awaiting the last delivery. A J39 class engine with guards van buffers up, ready to take the train away to the docks at Hull for export. The goods yard's resident mobile Coles crane lifts the crate off the Bedford low loader and accurately positions it on the waiting railway truck. Because of the height of the packing cases, special low trucks were used to keep the dimensions within the railway's loading gauge. At Wakefield Road Bridge at Sturton, a diesel multiple unit heading for Leeds overtakes Neville Hill's B1 class 61002 Impala on the down goods line. Sturton Wagon Works with gantry wagon lifting hoist and the up marshalling yard are seen in the background. Passing the large hoarding proclaiming Sturton's new marshalling yard, part of British Railways service to industry, with Skelton Grange Power Station in the background, Ibert Class 4 number 43044 of Manningham comes on shed for a wash and brush up. Also calling for a drink is Skipton Shed Standard Class 4, number 75042, with its shed name on its buffer beam. The outskirts of Rothwell can be seen on the horizon. With her tender-filled 75042 moves off shed. The Type 2 diesel on an express freight rushes south. 75042 leisurely makes her way home, and a standard Class 3 follows the diesel with an ordinary freight train. On the 1010 Birmingham-Glasgow, which has reversed at City Station, Britannia Class 70040 Clive of India of Kingmore Carlisle Shed pulls steadily round the curve. With the tower of Holy Trinity Church Boar Lane on the left skyline, the driver is looking for Whitehall Junction's signals. Passing the remains of the ballast sidings in the foreground and Monkbridge Forge behind, she joins the curve from Engine Shed Junction and heads north. On the 1037 Leeds City to Glasgow Express is A1 Class 60118 Archibald Sturrock. Passing in front of the chimneys of the former electricity power station in Eyre Street, she accelerates round the curve from Leeds City Junction. There used to be a small shed within the triangle which housed the Leeds District Engineers coach. As a light engine heads west, Holbeck Class 5, number 45063, brings in the 0742 Bradford Forster Square Bristol train, which will reverse in City Station. Having come in from the York direction and changed engines at City, the Darlington-Manchester exchange is headed by Royston's Class 5, number 45219. In this view, it is seen that colour light signals have replaced the semaphore signals. Swinging off the line from Farnley Junction through Whitehall Junction is the 1048 arrival at City from Manchester Exchange, with Patrick Croft Standard Class 5, number 73053 in charge. Meeting her on the curve is Holbeck's 45593 Collar Per, on the late-running Birmingham-Glasgow, easing for Whitehall Junction's signals to clear. Blocks of flats being built in Wellington Road and Tong Road behind her, Holyhead's Class 5, number 45280, makes steady progress past the site of the ex-London North Western Yard between Whitehall Junction and Farnley Junction on a Leeds-Manchester working. The further light-coloured bridge carries the ex-Great Northern Leeds Central to Doncaster line. Arriving at signals on a Manchester Scarborough working is Caprotti Valvegate Class 5, number 73135 of Patricroft Shed. On the right is the water tower where the yard's Ginty shunting tanks used to fill up. With a fair amount of steam leakage, 73135 gets the right of way and takes her train on down to City Station, where she will be remanned or replaced for the train's journey to York and Scarborough. After coming off the Farnley Viaduct, Trafford Park's Class 5 number 45096 is accelerating under the ex-Great Northern London line towards Manchester. This shot is taken from the bridge which once carried a colliery line from Gelderd Road way up to the Wortley Fireclay Works. Under the Leeds combination scheme, this piece of railway was closed between a new spur to the Great Northern line and Farnley Junction. Passing the remains of the second Farnley and Wortley station, she joins the then freight-only line from Whitehall Junction and runs past Farnley Engine Shed. On Shed, waiting to go away for repairs, is Stockport's Jubilee 45596 Bahamas, which was preserved in running order after withdrawal in July 1966. Already withdrawn in December 1962 is Fowler Crab number 42713. Class 5 45273 was moved to Holbeck Shed and had 3 more years' life, but Royal Scot number 46130, the West Yorkshire Regiment, which had had 7 different homes in 7 years, was condemned and cut up at Crewe Works in October 1963. Jubilee number 45562 Alberta, with the 3-coach Leeds portion, will combine with the Bradford portion of the Poole train at Huddersfield and take the complete train to Sheffield via Penistone and Barnsley. In charge of the following Leeds paint and working is number 45647 Sturdy. In the foreground is the new Spen Valley line to Mirfield via Liversedge and the connection to Cadbury's private siding. At Wortley West Junction is Class 5 45428, taking the through Bradford Exchange portion of a King's Cross Leeds Bradford working from Leeds Central. Coming round the south to west curve at Wortley later in the day, a long way from home, is Class 5 45191 of Stoke-on-Trent Shed, on a Bradford portion of a King's Cross train detached at Wakefield Westgate. Running down the hill from Bradford on the up passenger line on an exchange to King's Cross portion is Fairbairn Tank 42055 of Low Moor Shed. She will cross over to take the south curve, where she will join the ex-Great Northern Main Line to London. In the background at Armley is the tower of St Bartholomew's Church, home of the famous Schultz organ. With the Copley Hill ex-Great Northern carriage sheds behind her, Ardsley's B1 number 61173 brings another King's Cross Bradford portion over Wortley West Junctions. At Wortley South Junction, Sister Ardsley Loco Fairbairn Tank number 42177 joins the Leeds Central Wakefield London line and passes over the bridge, carrying it over the Whitehall Junction to Farnley Junction Manchester line. At Copley Hill Shed, B161143 of Immingham and 61385 of Ardsley top up their tenders at the ex-Great Northern coaling stage, in which large wheelbarrows were used to transfer coal from truck to tender. Simmering on shed are A1 Pacific's number 60154 Bon Accord of Neville Hill and 60117 Boys Roussel, a Copley-based engine. Coming off the Bradford Exchange line at Holbeck Junction, with the Doncaster line straight ahead and the loco shed and carriage siding lines going off in between, is Lowmore B1 61386 with the 11 o'clock ex-Bradford restaurant portion for the King's Cross train. Bringing empty stock out of Central is Ardsley's B1 61061. The distance signal is off, giving right away into Copley Hill Great Northern carriage sidings. On the 1610 departure to Cleethorpes, Britannia 70037 Hereward the Wake of Immingham Shed has difficulty keeping her feet. The trucks and guards van are in the high-level ex-London North Western Yard near Central Station. At Whitehall Junction, a DMU crosses from down fast to down slow, and Fairburn Tank number 42413 takes empty stock from City Station to Farnley sidings. The catch points and sand drag at the bottom of the picture are on the steeply graded Farnley lines to protect the junction from runaways. Britannia 70029 Shooting Star of Aston Birmingham Shed eases a short Bradford Forster Square bound parcels train round the curve on the down main and rattles towards Shipley. Coming off the curve from Engine Shed Junction, where she has taken over the 1410 St Pancras Heads of Air train, is Holbeck Jubilee 45675 Hardy, which slips on the junction's uneven trackwork. On a second parcels train from the old Leeds Wellington station, Skipton Standard Class 4460 number 75051 starts its journey northwards, closely followed by Fairburn Tank number 42138 on empty stock duties. The long approach viaduct to Leeds Central Station is seen beyond Holbeck High Level Bridge, over which a 1 Class 60120 Kittiwake of Yorkshire is starting the 0928 Leeds to Yarmouth train. An ex-London North Western Farnley Yard Ginty, number 47419, runs back down from High Level Yard as A160130 Kestrel of Ardsley Shed heads down to Central Station. Starting the 1610 Central to Cleethorpes train is Immingham B1 61185. The ex-London North Western and Lancashire and Yorkshire goods depot is seen on the left, with smoke-stained awnings. Jubilee number 45562 Alberta bursts from under Holbeck high-level platform and runs through low-level station. There was no platform on the down slow line, as can be seen in this shot of Class 5 45185 of Kingmore Carlisle shed on an express freight. Before colour light signals arrived, a driver really had to have his wits about him as he looked for the signal controlling his train. Running in on the ex-Midland up slow is sister Class 5 number 45354 of Lancaster Green Airshed on a Morecambe Leeds train. Reversing down the 1 in 88 incline from Leeds Central B box to Gelded, where it will pull forward into the Wellington Street ex North Eastern and Great Northern Goods Yard, is Fairbairn Tank number 42073 of Low Moorshed. On a returning Butlins Heads of Air to St Pancras working is Newton Heath Jubilee, number 45601 British Guiana. With the lines from Leeds Central B box curving down to Gelded signal box on the left, Fairbairn Tank 42138 passes over the bridges above Gelded and Wellington roads, with the St Pancras to Bradford Forster Square train, which has reversed at City Station. With Canal Street on the left and nowhere near the canal, Holbeck Jubilee 45639 Raleigh arrives on the up slow with another working from Morecambe. Heading empty stock on the down fast, Ibert Class 4 43043 of Normanton is into its stride. On another Bradford-bound parcels train is Class 5 45481 of Kingmore Carlisle shed. F Class 48160 of Sturton shed follows, with a Carlisle-bound fast freight, containing coal from Newmarket Colliery for Carlisle's engine sheds. Fairbairn Tank number 42093 accelerates past Wortley signal box with a train of empty stock, and 45608 Gibraltar, another Holbeck Jubilee, coasts past the ex-Midland Wortley box on the left and the northeastern one on the right. Getting a Class E partially brake freight on the move is Holbeck 8F 48158 on a Skipton-bound working. On the up slow on a Carlisle Leeds train is Britannia 7004 William Shakespeare. This engine was once the pride of the southern region and kept in immaculate condition for working the Golden Arrow boat train. After the Midland lines had been re-signalled, the line from Gelded up to Central was closed, so its signals handled goods only. A Leeds City Wellington-bound parcels train with Class 5 45273 in charge runs through the simplified layout at Whitehall Junction. On a train of returning coal trucks from Carlisle, 9F92016 of Carnforth shed ambles past Holbeck's low-level platform. On Sunday, the 12th of July 1964, arriving on the Stevenson Locomotive Society Duchess Rail Tour, is Kingmore Carlisle Stanier Pacific number 46255, City of Hereford. The train originated at Birmingham New Street and ran via Stafford and Crewe to Carlisle, where City of Hereford was attached. At Leeds, the train reversed for its return journey to Birmingham via Huddersfield and Stockport. Jubilee 45647 Sturdy, beautifully clean, doing the honours as far as Crewe. The price of this 450-mile tour was 45 shillings, or £2.25 in today's currency. City of Hereford runs down the east side of the triangle to Holbeck Shed for servicing. Sturdy again, leaving the new Leeds station on the 3-coach Leeds Pool portion, slowing for signals at Leeds City Junction. Passing over Globe Road Bridge and through Leeds City Junction, Jubilee Collar Per backs onto the 1017 Leeds to Glasgow Express. The former Leeds power station in Eyre Street can clearly be seen. Making a rousing departure, she runs through Whitehall Junction on her way north. On the 5th of August 1967, coming off the new connecting curve from Holbeck Junction down to Whitehall Junction with the Devonian, now running from Bradford Exchange, is Fairbairn Tank 42152. The coaches have the short-lived yellow waist-level destination panels, which could not be seen on a crowded platform. On this day, 45562 Alberta is in charge of the summer Saturdays only 1017 ex-Leeds Birmingham Glasgow train. Class 5 44708 of Trafford Park Shed Manchester runs through Whitehall Junction, having come round the curve from Engine Shed Junction with an empty stock train. Bringing to a close this look at the railways of the City of Leeds, our two favourite sights and sounds, a Jubilee storming through Holbeck Low Level and an A1 Pacific climbing up to Holbeck High Level. Turning full circle, plans are afoot to open extra platforms at the present Leeds station, some of which will be on the site of the old Wellington station. Disused platforms have also been brought back into use at York, the subject of our next video. The old Hull and Bridlington platform seeing regular use. This second volume, York and District, is intended to complement our first video, there being no duplication of film used in its making. In addition to looking in greater detail at the vast number of passenger and freight trains which passed York's excursion platforms, some of the more unusual workings will be shown. These include the privately owned locos at Poppleton Sugar Beet Factory and Rowntree's Chocolate Works. Many mainline and excursion trains were still steam-hauled, and on summer Saturdays ran in large numbers to and from the coast. At Church Fenton we look at operations in 1957, filmed in black and white. Locos seen include unrebuilt B16s, D49s and K3s. We watch a circus unloading its animals in Holgate Cattle Dock. We look at York Shed and Station, and watch and listen to the sights and sounds of British railways in a bygone era.